Hello, everybody. I hope you are so excited. I hope you are as excited as I am. Hello, everybody. Happy Friday. It's the day after Thanksgiving. Many of you are going to be watching this video on the replay because you are out shopping. And that's perfectly okay. I hope you find lots of great deals today. Hello, everybody. A lot of you are here live today. Maybe you have the day off of work. Maybe you've taken some vacation time. Maybe you're just chilling after a long day of eating yesterday. Y'all, I am so hungry. I saw all of your pictures over on Facebook of your dinners. We did not do a big dinner yesterday. We're doing ours tomorrow. So I'm still craving the turkey and the stuffing and the cranberry relish and the green bean casserole. I'm a green bean casserole kind of person. Are you a green bean casserole kind of person? That's one of my favorites out of everything. Hello, everybody. So I'm still craving all of the Thanksgiving food, and I'm so hungry, waiting for tomorrow. Hello, everybody. It's so great to see you. All right, so just a few things up on the screen. Tonight we're having a paint party over on the Creative Crew. I hope you can join us. I don't suspect we're going to get all of our pieces painted today. So if you want to join me tonight, if you have nothing to do, on Creative Crew, you'll see this paint party Zoom, 8:30 Eastern time. You'll click on the link on Creative Crew and join us. It should be a lot of fun. Hello, everybody. Yes, green bean casserole. And just a shameless little plug, y'all. I am having my annual Black Friday sale in the Etsy shop. So if you're Black Friday shopping, if there's a pattern that's been in the Etsy shop in your shopping cart for a while and you've been on the fence, now's a great time to get it. Green bean casserole. Green bean casserole. Yes. I can hardly wait, y'all. I am so hungry. Okay, y'all, before we get started with our paint puzzle mystery quilt, we're going to dive into the pieces here in a little bit. But if you watched last week's live, you know that we're doing a giveaway. To enter that giveaway, you had to comment after the live was over on that video. We're going to draw the names for those giveaways so that if you're here and you're wondering if you win, you know before we dive in today to our video content if you're a winner or not. We're going to pick the winners live. Hello, everybody. It's so great to see you. Oh, Charlie, did you try the corn pudding? Did you like it? That's a good one, too. Oh, my goodness. I'm so hungry. I'm so hungry. Now, I'm going to switch the screen. It's going to look crazy here for a second, okay? But I have all of these things we're going to do for the giveaway. I showed each individual giveaway item in last week's live. So if you wanted to see what all of those things were, you have to go back to last week's live to see. I did like a little flip through of all of those. My screen's going to look a little crazy for a second. We're going to go to the YouTube comment picker. We're going to pull up that video's comments and we're going to pick some winners. Okay, we're going to do that before we get started, and then we're going to spend about an hour or maybe a little bit more diving into the first pieces of this quilt. Okay, my screen's going to look a little crazy for a minute. All right, so to enter, you had to leave a comment after the live on this video. This was from last Friday. Okay, this was last Friday's live. You had to leave a comment in the comment section after we were done. All right, so I'm going to copy the link for this video. Copy. And then we're going to go to YouTube random comment picker. I want to see what shows up on the screen to see what you can see. So give me just a second because there's a bit of a delay. All right. We're going to scroll up a little bit. Just want to make sure that that's in the screen because my face is covering a lot of the screen. All right, I'm going to delete what's in here. There is the link for last week's live, and we are going to filter out duplicate users. So if you commented more than one time, it's only going to count one of your comments, okay? And we're going to get the comments. There were 167 unique comments. All right. Okay, who's ready? Who's ready? The first thing we're going to draw for is the 2 Juniper mini charms. That's 2 Juniper mini charms right there. The winner for those will be Patricia Hansen. Patricia Hansen, you're the winner of the 2 Juniper mini charms. She said, this sounds like so much fun. I'm not much for painting, but we'll watch the first video to see if I can do it. Might just give it to my sister to do. She is great with paints, and I can do the sewing. Ooh, that sounds great. Yeah, y'all could tag team. Congratulations, Patricia. I'm going to set those aside for you. The next winner is going to be for the Prairie Dreams. That's also 2 mini charm packs. And that winner will be, pick another winner. Here we go. This is fun. Wanda, Miss Wanda, you're the winner of the Prairie Dreams. Okay, so let me just say, if you are a winner, do not post your address in the comments or the live chat. My email address is right up above me, Lisa Capen Quilts. You're going to email me if you're one of the winners. I meant to say that in the very beginning. Okay? Don't post your address. Don't contact me here on YouTube. Send me an email to Lisa Capen Quilts if you're a winner. Okay? Congratulations, Miss Wanda. I hope you love these Prairie Dream mini charms. The next one we're drawing for is for the Counting Sheep charm pack. Okay, that's 1 charm pack, Counting Sheep. Get rid of that little bar at the bottom. There we go. Marilyn, Miss Marilyn. Congratulations, you just won the Counting Sheep charm pack. Email me and send me your address. That's awesome. The next drawing will be for Camp Woodland. This is a charm pack. This was a really fun one. It had campers in the fabric. We're going to pick the winner. Sue Hunt, you're the winner of the Camp Woodland charm pack. Congratulations. Send me an email to my email address. The next one is Kitty Corn. This is a Moda charm pack by Urban Chicks. This one was awesome. DecoArt. I'm not even going to try to say that. I am thankful for all I have learned watching your videos. Thank you. Oh, you're so welcome. You're the winner of the Kitty Corn charm pack. Send me an email. Send me an email. The next winner will be for Break of Day Moda charm pack by Sweet Fire Road. This one is super pretty too. And the winner is Miss Mary. Mary said, happy Thanksgiving and be blessed. Miss Mary, this is your charm pack. You'll send me an email. The next one is a Moda charm pack called Desert Song by Mary Penny. And the winner for this one, Miss Sherry. Sherry, congratulations. Sherry said, love your videos. They have helped me learn to quilt. That is awesome, Sherry. Congratulations. This is your charm pack. Send me your email, send me your address. The next one, y'all, is 2 charm packs. They were both the same, so we grouped them together. And these are blue printed batik collection quilting fabric charms squares. There's 2 of them. All right. And the winner for this one Angela. Yay. Angela said, Happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving, Angela. These are yours. Send me your address, and I'll get these right out to you. All right, y'all. We have a Jolly Bar. Smoke and Rust. Jolly Bar. Have you ever worked with these Jolly Bars before? These are 5 by 10 inch pre-cuts. The colors in this are gorgeous. We're going to pick the winner for this Jolly Bar. Sylvia. Ooh, Sylvia. Sylvia said, Lisa, have a great Thanksgiving. Enjoy your tutorials so much. Thank you, Miss Sylvia. Send me your address, and I'll ship this right out to you. All right, y'all, and we have one more thing. It's like the grand prize. And that is this Riley Blake Designs Fat Quarter Bundle. There are 18 fat quarters in this bundle, and we're going to pick that winner now. Barbara Clark. Congratulations, Barbara. Barbara said, Hi, Lisa. Looking forward to next week's project. Thank you for your informative and entertaining channel. You're so welcome. Yay! Congratulations, everybody who won something. If you did not win, I am so sorry. I'm so sorry. I always feel bad for those whose name don't come up on the screen, but I'm super excited for those who did win. So I'm going to put these in the box. I want to thank Miss Valeria. Miss Valeria, I'm still waiting to hear from you, my friend. I miss hearing from you, and I've been wondering how you're doing. All of the items that we gave away today were donated by Miss Valeria. And so thank you so much, Valeria. And yeah, I'm super excited to hear from you. Again, do not post your address. Let me just drop this box out of the way. Do not post your address in the comments section. Send me an email to lisacapenquilts@gmail.com and send me your address, and I will get those out to you sometime next week. Yes. Hello, everybody. I want to thank y'all so much for hanging out with me today. If you just came in and you missed the winners, you'll have to go back on the replay and see if your name came up. And just a reminder, we're doing a paint party tonight. So if you have no plans and you want to hang out with everybody, we would love to see you there. Okay, everybody. A proclaimer going into this week's video. Y'all, there are about 1 million ways to do this project. There's no right way. There's no wrong way. The way that I do it might vary from the way you do it, and that's okay. I'm going to share some of the things that have helped me. Guess what? I've already painted the pieces, 25 pieces for one quilt. So I've gone through this pattern. I've figured out some things that work really good for me. And I'm going to share those along the way. Each week we're going to do 5 new pieces. It's going to be lots of fun. All right, I'm going to switch the screen over to the cutting mat. Here we go. So down in the description box, y'all, is the puzzle pieces and the instruction sheet for week number 1. Okay, so you got your puzzle pieces printed off. These print off to approximately 4.5 by 4.5. Okay, that's the correct size, but as long as they're smaller than 6 inches, you're good, right? If you're using Adobe Reader and you choose actual size when printing, they should print off 4.5 by 4.5. And there's 5 puzzle pieces here. Okay, the little green numbers in each one, that's the actual number of the piece. So that's going to help us keep track of our pieces and help us line them all up when we're done in week number 5. Okay, I have all of my paints here. I have shared pictures of my paint selections for each of these colors over on Facebook and even here on YouTube. But if you go in the description box, under all the links and all the stuff, I typed out the brand and the color of each one of the paints that I'm using for this quilt. So you can just jot that down if you are going to try to match up exactly what I'm using. You might have picked a totally different colorway altogether, and that is fine too, right? So what I did to help me stay organized before I even got started is on the top of my bottles with a little sticker, I just wrote the number or the letter for each of these colors. And that just helps me, y'all, because some of these colors are kind of close together, right? And so I went ahead and just labeled each one of my paint colors right on the top of the bottle. That just helps me. I did add a black paint in here, and that's optional. You could use a fabric marker if you want. So I did add a black paint in there. And then the fabric medium. I went to Joann Fabrics. Y'all, I'm not a sponsor of Joann Fabrics, but it is one of the closest fabric and crafting stores to my house, about 15-20 minutes away from my house. To find some of these colors a little bit closer, I went to Joann Fabrics the other day, and they did have this DecoArt fabric medium. Usually I use the golden GAC 900 fabric medium, but I bought this one, and I've been using it, and let me just tell you, I kind of really like it. The instructions are on the back. You're going to mix 2 parts paint to 1 part fabric medium, and you will let this dry, and you do heat set it once it's dry, okay? So make sure to check the back for the instructions. But I picked this up. It was $2 and something at Joann's. So, and I've already painted 25 pieces with it. I would say I'm a little less than half full, if that gives you an idea of how much of this you're going to use for the quilt. And so far, I really like it. The paint, when it's dry, is, I wouldn't say it's stiff. I actually kind of like it. So I think I'm going to be really happy with this. Rhonda said, where's a good place online to find these paints? Well, I know you can go to Joann's online and order, and that's where a good majority of these paints came from. But then you can also check out Amazon and some other retailers online if you're online shopping. Yeah, Veronica said Hobby Lobby has the same fabric medium in the paint selection, so maybe check them out online if you're shopping strictly online. All right, and then I do have a variety of paint brushes, y'all. But let me just tell you, okay, I have some like little liner brushes, some flatter brushes, but I painted 25 pieces with this brush here, and that's what I'm using today. This brush is like an edge brush. It's got like a chisel edge to it, and I really like it. So this is the brush I'm using to paint everything. But your painting style, you might find it easier to use a different brush. And let me just tell you, this brush probably came from the Dollar Tree in a pack of 10. It's not a name brand brush, but I really like it. Okay. And then I have some fabric markers here. Marvy fabric markers you might want to use. You might even get away with using a Sharpie if you want. Yeah, I mean, I think the results are going to vary depending on the fabric you're using. You'll see I'm going to trace my pieces with a black ballpoint pen. And you might even want to try using a heat erasing pen. Okay, so those are the things I'm using. I have a little paint tray. I have a little bucket of water. I have an old paint towel that's dried up and stuck to my pressing mat. I have an old towel. I am working with Kona white fabric. Kona white solid fabric. I got mine from Joann Fabrics. I did put a link for a yard of Kona white fabric. I think it was $5.99. You can buy online. Of course, you can use any brand of fabric. You can even use some medium and higher grade muslins would work really well too. Okay. But I picked up some white Kona fabric and I have some freezer paper. So what I've done is I've already gone through and I've cut out 25 6-inch by 6-inch white fabric squares and they're ready. And then I pre-cut some squares of freezer paper, okay? And I pre-cut my freezer paper at 5.5 by 5.5, or hold on, let me just measure that. Yeah, 5.5 by 5.5. And I'll tell you why here in just a second. So I've pre-cut 25 pieces of this, and so I'm ready to do all of my pieces, right? Darla said, would I be able to hand stitch through the medium or do you think it's going to be too stiff? Darla, I'm thinking if you don't apply your paint really, really super thick, you can probably hand stitch through this. That's one of the benefits of adding the fabric medium to your paints is that it does soften it up a little bit. It's not quite as stiff or as sharp on the fabric when you add that fabric medium in there. Did you use the scan and cut to cut your paper? No, ma'am. I just laid it out and I used my rotary cutter and a ruler. That might be one of the reasons why my rotary cutter blades dull out as fast, because I cut paper with them too. All right, so, and you'll need an iron that is heated up. I like to use the cotton setting. For me, I just set it on the highest cotton setting on my iron. And we're going to get that heating up for just a second. I might have missed some questions. So if I missed your question, feel free to repeat it. It's very, very common for me to miss a lot of stuff during the live chat. I'm just going to get that iron heating up just a little bit. I've already pre-traced 3 of the pieces, but I'm going to trace 2 of them with you. Okay, and let me just tell you, when you're tracing your pieces, I'm going to be using a black, just a black ballpoint pen. One of the reasons you might not want to use a pencil to trace your pieces is because the pencil is like the graphite and it's smudgy. It's possible that when you're painting your pieces, you smudge some of that graphite into your paint and it makes it a little muddy. So I would avoid using a pencil. You could trace your pieces with a heat erasing pen. You could trace them with, I would use a black ballpoint pen and not a blue one. You could even go for the gusto and trace your pieces with a black fabric marker or even a fine tip Sharpie if you wanted to do that. Okay, so there's lots of different options for you. One of the things I wanted to suggest, if you're using a heat erasing pen, well, I'll show you here in a second. I want you to number each one of your pieces, and you don't want to do that with a heat erasing pen because when you heat set these after they're dry, you might lose that little number, and then you have to figure out which piece is which, right? And Vicki brings up a really good point. She said, I just tried a black Sharpie and it bleeds like crazy. They do. That's one of the reasons why I avoid using a Sharpie a lot of the times for tracing, is because, especially if you leave the Sharpie on the fabric for any longer than a split second, it expands into the fabric. Now, some fabrics, that happens to a lot more than others. It could be the weave of the fabric or the thread count, who knows. But I tend to avoid using a Sharpie until maybe after you've painted your pieces. So later on, I'll demonstrate that, okay? All right. I'm going to scoot this pressing board over here for just a second. Da-da-da. We have our white fabrics. I did not pre-wash my fabrics, y'all. And I wouldn't say that it's 100% necessary. If you find, because unwashed fabric that you just purchased a lot of the times has some sizing in the fabric, which might deter the fabric paint from sticking. If you find that that's happening, then you might want to pre-wash your fabrics. Y'all, this is going to be an art quilt, so if your fabric is like mine and it takes the paint very nicely without pre-washing, then it's not 100% necessary. All right, so I have my freezer paper. Y'all see it has a shiny side and a dull side. I'm going to line up the freezer paper right in the middle. Right, I did not pre-cut my freezer paper exactly 6 inches. And I'll tell you why. When we remove the freezer paper off at the end, if you cut it exactly the same size as your fabric, you might end up fraying the fabric when you're peeling off the freezer paper, right? And it's not going to hurt anything that the freezer paper is a little bit smaller than your fabric piece, right? Our goal with the freezer paper is just to stabilize the fabric so that we can draw on paint on it and it's not wrinkling up and shifting around while we're doing that. That will come off, right? So there's one piece and another. Now, one of the biggest reasons why we're cutting the fabric at 6 inches by 6 inches instead of the finished 4.5 by 4.5. Because if you're like me, I need a place to grab the fabric and hold it while I'm tracing or painting without putting my fingers in wet paint. So it gives us that place to rest our fingers and to hold the piece while we're painting, where we're not smudging wet paint, right? And also, sometimes when we remove the freezer paper off the back, there's a tendency for the fabric to fray. So we're going to remove the freezer paper and then square up our pieces at the very end, right? And that's going to give us nice clean edges to our 4.5 by 4.5 inch piece. And we can handle these pieces all we want and we don't have to worry about it fraying. If it frays now, we're fine. We'll square up everything at the end. All right, so there's our pieces. See, nice and stabilized pieces ready for tracing. For the tracing, y'all, I'm going to bring in my light pad. I did put a link if you're searching, if you're like, people are asking you for Christmas present ideas and you're like, I don't know what to tell anybody. This was under 20 bucks. It was 19 something. I use it all the time. It's got a little USB and it's great for tracing. It's nice and flat. Sorry about the reflection from my light overhead. Yeah, I did put a link down in the description box for this. However, you can use a window. And many of you have said that you've made your own light box. So I'm sure that there are videos on YouTube on how to do that. If you want to get started today and you don't have access to a window that's good for tracing, then maybe you can make your own light pad. That would be awesome. We're going to bring in a piece number 1. Let me turn on this light pad. There we go. And we're going to center our first fabric piece right over top. So I'm just putting that right in the middle. See that? Yes, you can see that. Awesome. All right. So at this point, y'all, we're just tracing. So here's what I've done, because I've already painted 25 pieces and I figured out the most productive way for wasting less paint is to trace the 5 pieces right off the get-go. Go ahead and trace your pieces, right? And I'm going to do that with my shaky hands, so I'm sorry. I went ahead for each week and just traced the 5 pieces. But I'm not writing in the letters, because if you're not using a heat erasing pen, if you're using anything else, chances are that writing is going to show through your paint. So I'm only tracing the shapes, right? You want to trace the 2 lines of the box and then the shapes within the box. But I'm not tracing the letters at all. And what I've done is just referenced the paper copy after the pieces are traced, right? So you'll just keep your little PDF copy right at your workstation while you're painting. Sorry, sometimes I have to focus. And just to let you know, I usually work much neater when I have like some music in the background, and we're doing this without music. So there's this shape. This outer box, once we're all done, we'll be trimming everything outside of this outer box. And this space in between, that's going to be our seam allowance for when we join these together, right? So there's my finished traced piece for number 1. And what I've been doing is right down in the bottom right-hand corner, I just put the green number of the piece right in that bottom corner. And so if you're using a heat erasing pen, you might want to switch over to something that's not going to erase. So when you heat set this piece, before you trim it, you keep track of which piece is which, right? So there's piece number 1. And I'm going to trace piece number 2 with you as well. All right, I'm going to trace piece number 2. I'm going to tell you, I've had so much work to do the last few weeks. So much work to do. The last few days, I have had so much fun just painting these pieces. I turn on some music, and well, I love to paint anyway. I find it relaxing, but I've just had the best time just turning on some music and painting these pieces. And let me just tell you, this quilt is going to be gorgeous. And what's really fun is if you're someone who you would consider yourself not to be a painter, if you make this quilt, then you can consider yourself a painter. It's going to be gorgeous. Y'all, we're just coloring in these shapes, just a solid color. You don't have to worry about blending. You don't have to worry about being this magnificent, skilled painter. This quilt is basically like a paint by numbers or paint by letters, right? So there's all of our lines in that piece. Now, some of you last week asked if you could do this with fabric instead of paint. And I've been contemplating the approach for that, if you'd rather do it with fabric versus paint. And I think you can. I've been thinking about it a lot as I was painting the other pieces. I think you certainly could. So let's talk about that for a second before I crack open some paint. I've done some videos on some art quilt, like mosaic art quilts. And I would treat this the exact same way. All right? It's going to be all raw edges when you do these pieces. Instead of white fabric, I would use black fabric. And most certainly you'll want to use a window or a light pad when placing your pieces. And once you assemble this quilt, I think if you topped it with some tulle to hold down all of the raw edges, I think that would be gorgeous. And maybe I'll do a video if you watch this and you still are like, I don't think I want to paint my pieces. Maybe I'll do a video on how I would do it if I were doing it from fabric. Maybe that's a good little video we can do. Katie said, I might have missed it, but how long will this series run? 5 weeks. Each week, 5 new puzzle pieces come out on Thursday. So Thursday, you can come get your puzzle pieces. Friday, we're going to work on them. Ooh, Miss Maureen said she's been thinking about using black bias tape for the leading. That would be gorgeous. Katie said, I was thinking machine applique. That would be awesome. Cindy said you could do English paper piecing, couldn't you? I think maybe you could. I don't know. Nita said, is it possible to only use fabric markers? I think so, Nita. You would just color it with your fabric markers instead of using paint. I think that's the cool thing about this project is it's so flexible that there's no right way and no wrong way. I think whatever way works best for you, that's the way you should do it. I think that's the way that you should do it. And here's the thing, y'all. You could always try one piece, right? Instead of committing to the whole project one way, try it with one piece and see how it looks and see if you're satisfied with it. And if so, then start doing your other pieces. And after doing one piece, there's something about the technique you're trying that you don't like. Now's the time to change it up, right? Before you start diving into multiple pieces and then deciding that you don't like it. Now's the time to figure out a method that works best for you. Right? All right, so we're ready to dive into some paint. So what I've been doing, y'all, is tracing all 5 pieces. Here's my 5 pieces for this week. Oops, I didn't number this one. Let me write the number before I forget. 2. All right, here's piece 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, all traced, right? So what I've been doing is just starting with piece number 1 and the colors that are in piece number 1, right? So we have H. So I've just been reaching over, grabbing my color H, and I mix enough H that I think is going to do all 5 pieces, right? There's only a little bit of H that gets used in all 5 of these pieces. So I mix just a little bit, right? And I color all of the pieces that are labeled piece number 8, or H, not 8. And y'all, I don't know if this is an exact science. I kind of just eyeball it. But this fabric medium calls for 2 parts paint and 1 part fabric medium. I don't measure it out. I'm just kind of eyeballing it like that. And then I mix it up, right? And usually it looks a little crazy for a second, but then the magic happens and it turns back to the original color the more you keep stirring it. You just want to make sure that you keep mixing it until you don't see any milky color and all of the paint is mixed. Stir, 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 stir. Now, of course, you could paint the complete piece number 1, all of the colors, and then move on to piece number 2 if that's the way that works best for you in your mind. For me, I only want to mix this paint one time, and I don't want it to dry up while I'm working piece to piece. So for me, it makes more sense for me to use all of this color on the 5 pieces before I mix new paint. That's just me. Is drawing info at the end of video? I'm not quite sure what you mean, Dawn. Drawing info. Oh, it's at the beginning. You missed it. You'll have to catch the replay for the winners of the drawing. You'll have to come back, Miss Dawn. All right, so we're working with color number H. Right here, color number H. So here's piece number 1. And in this piece, this middle section and these 2 smaller sections are painted with color H, right? This extra fabric bit around the edges is great because you don't have to worry about putting your fingers in the wet paint. And now we can start having the fun parts, right? I really like this this little chiseled edge brush because it gives me some really nice flat edges like this. And we're going to just go in. I like starting at the edges and I work myself all the way around the edges. Again, I think our techniques might differ person to person, right? For me, I let the design of the brush do its work, right? It was designed for edging, and I just let it do its job. And the thing about this is, y'all, we're only putting enough paint that we get a full coverage. If you have any rolls of paint or globs of paint on the fabric, you want to spread that out, right? I do think the less paint we use, the less problems we're going to have in the end if you want to hand quilt or machine quilt this when we're done. Again, the fabric medium does soften this paint up a lot. It really does. And even once you heat set it, it'll soften up even a little bit more. But the thinner you keep that paint on the fabric, the better. Full coverage, but not an excess of paint. So I just work myself right around the edge first. And the cool thing about doing it color by color like this is that by the time you work your way through the pieces, generally that's kind of dry, right? And if you need to touch inside the piece or your hand, you rest your hand inside that piece, it's okay. I have shaky hands, y'all. Y'all have heard me say that many, many times. So in order to keep the shakes under control, I a lot of the times have to brace my hand. And so that's also one of the reasons why I will work with one color at a time, because by the time we get back to this piece, that should be okay, right? And if I stick my fingers in it, it should be set up pretty good. It also might be that you do one color and then you just let it sit and dry, right? And come back to it later. Now the cool thing about this is if you mess up, we're still going to color in between these pieces with black. And so it's okay if you go outside the lines. We're going to cover it up. So that takes away a lot of stress right there, right? This is kind of foolproof. If you paint outside of this line around this first box, that is okay. That's going to be in your seam allowance. And you almost kind of want to extend that paint into that seam allowance a little bit anyway. So that if when you're sewing these pieces together, if your seam allowance is off a little bit, then you don't have a white little strip that shows right next to your pieces, right? So it's perfectly okay to extend your paint into that seam allowance. And if your paint goes beyond your lines, that's okay. We're going to cover it up with black. So how stress-free is that, right? One thing for sure is if when you're painting, if you have any little specks of dry paint, you want to get them off now before they dry on there. So there we go. That is the first piece right inside there, painted. Pretty. I'm going to go in here and paint, let's see. So that's piece number 1. Piece number 1 also has H on the 2 sides right there. So we're going to fill that in. I think this quilt is coming at the perfect time, at least for me, because y'all, I have been just so busy. Not busy in a bad way, but really busy. And I thought, you know, approaching the weeks before Christmas, it would just be really awesome for us to have a project we can do that is kind of spread out. And it's not complicated. It's not complicated with super tricky piecing. We don't have to spend lots of money on lots of fabric for this quilt. It's not going to be a super big quilt for us to have to send to a long armor or figure out how we're going to quilt it, right? And it's just meant to give us some time to de-stress and unwind, right? All right, so you see my paint has extended into my seam allowance. I'm good with that. I even went outside the line a little bit. That's okay. All right, so there's piece number 1 with all of the H pieces painted in. Piece number 2 has some H. So we're going to paint piece number 2 with the H as well. So each week, I'm going to go ahead and pre-trace my pieces, right? And then we'll spend about an hour together. And what I get painted during that hour, we'll be good with. And then I'll either finish it up sometime in that week. I thought it would be fun to host a paint party. I don't know that we'll do that every single Friday, but we're doing one tonight. So if you don't have plans and you want to join us, You can bring your paint and your pieces, and we can paint together. I think that would be fun. Have any of y'all ever been to one of those like paint parties where you do a painting? I think that would be a lot of fun. I've never been to one. I probably mixed way too much paint for the amount that we're going to be using. See how I did those edges first? For me, that's the easiest way. For you, it might be different. I think the most important part is just to make sure that you don't leave lots of extra paint on the fabric, right? Spread it out. You'll see there, I went right outside into that seam allowance. And piece number 2, that's all the H pieces. Piece number 3, oh, there is a small little H in piece number 3. This little tiny, tiny triangle right there. That is the H color. There we go. And then piece number 4 has no H. And piece number 5 has no H. All right, so let me pick one of these because I would like to show you how to fill in these lines. So that's how I'm painting with each one of my colors, all right? I'm going to go back to piece number 1. Piece number 1 has the color C. We're going to paint that in. Patty said, how do I get the puzzle pieces? Miss Mimsy just posted, thank you Mimsy, the link. They're in the description box. This is a free quilt project, so I hope you join along. I'm not mixing a lot because I'm only going to do this one piece. I want to do one complete piece with you so I can show you how to do the black in between the pieces. So normally I would go through each one of the colors just like I did on all 5 pieces. But I want to get this piece all painted in for you so I can show you that space in between. All right, I just rinsed out my little paintbrush. And let me mix some fabric medium into color C. Ooh, Debbie said, I hosted a virtual paint and sips every week for many months. That sounds like so much fun. Doing it virtually sounds kind of fun too, because let me just tell you, you can sit in your pajamas and no one would know. You don't even have to have a bra on, right? All right, just mixing that fabric medium in. Mixing, mixing, mixing. I'm going to try to go through these 2 colors pretty quickly. Not rush, but quick. All these colors really start to pop once you start coloring them in. I do have the first 5 pieces I'm going to show you painted off to the side. So if you want to stick around for a minute. All right, C. That's these two top pieces right there. Let me move this. One thing I will say is if after you've mixed the fabric medium in your paint and you start painting and that paint starts growing, you've mixed too much fabric medium in there. And you want to try using less. Your paint really should not expand past where you're painting it. You might also have some extra water from where you've rinsed off your brush. So start with a really good dry brush. Make sure there's not a lot of water left over in your brush. So I just start right at my edges and then fill it in. Depending on how quick you are, you might breeze right through these pieces. I still have a little bit of red in my brush. That's a stinker. Just going right along those edges. And then swiping that extra paint. And then filling it all in. A little something, piece of lint or something right there. So that is color C. I need to do a better job at rinsing out my brush. That's okay. So that is color C, right? And so I would go through and do all of the C pieces while this paint is good. Before it starts drying up and getting hard, I'm going to waste that little bit, but I would use it up on all 5 pieces. And I'm going to try to rinse that paint out really good. I didn't rinse it out so good the first time. Rinsing, rinsing, rinsing. So piece number 1, we have F. So there's my F color. Miss Kathleen, this is a free project, and you're going to go right down in the description box. There's the PDF. You're going to print that out. And the first page is going to give you the list of colors I'm using, right? I've also typed out in the description box the exact colors I'm using. And then each Thursday, you can come and get the puzzle pieces for the next week. And it's a free project, right? We're all spending right here at Christmas. We're spending money on so many other things. I thought a free project would be really good right now. All right, so color F, let's go ahead and paint this in. I'm not mixing a lot of F because I'm going to end up wasting a good portion of it. But again, all of the F little sections I would go through and do while my F paint is nice and wet, right? You might even have some kind of little containers that you can store your wet paint in, right? I've just been using this little cheapo paint palette and just mixing enough paint to do the puzzle pieces that I'm working on, right? So I try not to mix that much to begin with. But if you've already pre-mixed your colors, you might have some little containers to store your paint in so it doesn't get dried out. All right, so F is right down here. These two spaces. Look at that orange pop right on there. This is one of the colors and the C color. If you're using the same color as I am, if you have traced your letters within your piece, you're going to be able to see right through this paint. That's one of the reasons why I'm not writing within these pieces. And I'm just referring to the PDF when I figure out what paint goes in which little section. And y'all, I'm just letting this brush do what it was intended to do. Give me a nice little edge right along that line and then spread that paint out. See, now these paints are going to be wet, so I'm going to try not to put my fingers in them. I'm going to try. Fill that in. Like that. And just a little bit more. And just spread out that paint. Make sure you got no extra just sitting on top of your fabric. There we go. So there is all of F. So piece number 1 is all painted in, right? I'll of course need to go back and fill in all the colors on the 4 other pieces. I'll do that tonight when we're hanging out in the Zoom. Can you write them on the freezer paper on the back? Tammy, I don't see why you couldn't. It's not going to bleed through your fabric. So if you wanted to do that, I think you could. I don't see where that would hurt anything. I just like keeping my PDF close by, right? And then there's my piece, and I can just look back and forth, right? So, of course, At this point, before you fill in the gaps around your pieces, I would let this dry. I really would. Now I'm going to be working with it wet because we don't want to sit here until this dries, right? And I did not pre-do any pieces that I was working with today because I wanted to show you the process. But I would, at this point, I would just let it sit and dry. The freezer paper is still on the back. We're going to keep that right there. I would just let it sit and dry. Now the spaces in between these pieces, you have some options, right? You have a few options. On my first few pieces, I used the black Marvy fabric marker, and I liked it okay. And I have a really easy time using the marker or pins, you know, because I can grip it with my shaky hands. But I'll be really honest. I did not think that the black fabric marker was as bold black as I wanted it to be in my quilt. So I'm going to bring over piece number 1 for my other quilt. It's got a piece of fabric stuck to it. There we go. This was done with black paint and a brush. See how dark and black those lines are? They're very bold. That was done with paint and the same brush, the same little edging brush that I just used in today's video. Black paint, fabric medium, and this brush. So that's what I'm doing with my pieces. I'm going to show you with the black marker, but then later on I'm going to cover it with black paint. I do think at this point you could also use a Sharpie, and that's why I've brought this out here. The paint kind of adds a little bit of a resist and stops the Sharpie from bleeding quite as much. So that's one of the reasons why I don't know that it would hurt to use a black Sharpie to fill in the spaces between your pieces at this point. But if you noticed a bleed still, I probably would avoid using the Sharpie. I think you're going to have to test out things and figure out which works best for you, right? And of course, this is still wet, so I'm going to try to be really careful. But yeah, I think you have a couple of different options and ways to color in these lines. So you could just bring in your fabric marker. Which I have pretty decent control of, right? And color in that space. Now, one of the reasons I chose not to end up with using this fabric marker, even though I have more control with it, is once it dried, there were some areas in this line that were lighter than others. And I was having to go back and recolor it to really fill in that line really nice and dark. And I thought, by the time I'm done, I'm going to go through quite a few little fabric markers because I want my line to be nice and bold and uniform black all the way through, right? And I found I had to keep going back and recoloring in that line. Which I really like these fabric markers. And for other projects, they work wonderful. But for this one, I decided I'm not going to use it, right? Let's try the black Sharpie just to see how this white Kona handles it. Also, keep in mind that my paint is still wet. I would wait till everything dries before doing this. Again, I do think you might go through a couple Sharpies. Especially if you want like a full coverage on the fabric. And I don't know that it's really showing up so much in the video as it is in person with my eyes right here on it. But like I still see white through that. And so I would keep on trying to cover up and get a nice full coverage, bold, dark, black line. So I was just having to keep doing it, right? Over and over and over again. And so finally I was like, okay, as much as I like that method, I'm just going to use black paint, right? And so that's what I ended up deciding to use. Again, that's not a rule. If your marker is working really good for you, and that's what you want to use, by all means, please feel free to do that. I want to thank my moderators today. Thank y'all so much. And just to let you know, I've probably missed a whole bunch. Once I get this line and this line painted in black, we're just going to chit chat for a minute. So if you've asked me specifically a question and I've missed it, that would be, if you can hold on for a minute, that would be a really good time. I'm going to mix up a little bit of black paint. We're going to paint in the rest of these two pieces. Yeah, the Sharpie does expand a little bit. But here's the thing, y'all. Okay, here's the thing. If you pick one way, if you pick your method and you're going to use the Sharpie and you use it consistently on all your pieces, you know how it's going to act, and it's going to be consistent through all of your pieces. That might not be a bad thing, right? If it spreads a little bit, it's going to spread on all of your pieces. They're all going to look the same. And who's to know that that is going to look horrible, right? I think the key is figuring out what method you're going to use, what products you're going to use, and then just stick to it with each and every one of your pieces so that one piece doesn't look different from the rest, right? Again, I've mixed way too much black paint because I'm only going to be painting these two lines with you. I'm a little heavy-handed. That's why it's good for me to paint all 5 pieces at one time, right? So for me, I would paint in all of the sections and then let them all dry and then mix up my black paint and paint all of the lines on the 5 sections all at one time. That's how I do it. That doesn't make it wrong or right. Ooh, Anitra said you can cover it with plastic wrap. That's a good idea. All right, the same little edging brush, that's what I've used for everything. I'm going to still use this same little brush. Y'all, I'm not dunking the whole tip. All of that hair in that brush is not going in the paint. Just a little smidgen. See that? It's much easier to control that way. And again, I let the brush do its work. Let the brush do the job that it was intended and made for. And I just start on one edge. Instead of using a liner brush and trying to paint perfect straight edges all the way down, I just use this brush. Just like that. And even with my shaky hands, y'all, I seem to get pretty good results that way. See that? And then I turn it around. And usually all of this paint should be dry so that I could rest my hand right there. But it's not. So let me just do this. See that? And then I just smooth it out right in the middle so there's not any lumps of paint. And this is the way that I've done my black lines. I get a much sharper edge doing it this way versus the paint marker or the Sharpie. And that's just me, y'all. That doesn't mean that's what you have to do. See that? And then, of course, the tricky part will be doing this other side. So each week, I'm going to pre-trace my pieces, right? And when we get started, I'll just start painting. We won't have the big, the explanation each week. And we're just going to spend some time painting together. And I will be painting one color at a time for all my pieces. So whatever we get done in that time, we will be finishing the video without all 5 of my pieces being done. Just like this and this. And I do think once this piece dries really good, I'm going to go back over the 2 lines where I used the marker so that they're consistent with these 2 painted lines. I have a little blub right there. That's okay. Yeah, see those colors really start to pop, especially when you fill in that line in between the colors. Oh, y'all are so welcome. Y'all are so welcome. Robin said you can put a damp paper towel over your paint. Then put it in an airtight container. It will keep for quite a long time. That's a good idea. You could pull out the Ziploc bag. I might do that because we're doing a paint party tonight and I've squirted out quite a bit of paint that is just going to sit there and dry up if I don't use it. Could you use a hair dryer to dry the paint on a low setting? I don't see why not, Miss Carol. I don't see why you couldn't do that. It might cause your fabric to lift off of the freezer paper. That would be my only thought, that something that might happen. So if you wanted to move on pretty quickly, piece to piece to piece, you might give it a try and see if it works. So there's the piece we just finished. This is the one that I've already painted for my other quilt because I'm making 2. So let me bring in the pieces. Now, I won't be able to do this every week because I'm ready to assemble this quilt. I'm ready to move on. You'll see I've even already taken off the freezer paper from these pieces. I have not heat set them yet, but look at that. That's not very stiff at all. Look, see that? I kind of really like this fabric medium. I'm going to tell you. So there's piece number 1 and piece number 2. And here's the tricky part, y'all, is these pieces don't go together. I didn't want to reveal the picture of this quilt right off the bat. So it's not going to make a lot of sense, especially when we first start. There's piece number 2. Oh, 2. 3. 4. 4. Oh, let me scoot it all up. There we go. Piece number 4 and piece number 5. In week number 5, we're going to trim all the extra off. And there's a grid that is with week number 5 that tells you where all these pieces go. Does metallic, Veronica wants to know, does metallic paint work with fabric medium too? I normally, when I use Inktense pencils, but they give me more of the watercolor look. Yes, and somehow I like the bold paint look. Yes, you certainly get the more bold, vivid colors using the fabric paint or the acrylic paint mixed with the fabric medium, right? The Inktense does tend to give you a little bit of a softer look to it, but still they've got some really vibrant colors too, right? But it does have a little bit more of a watercolor look, right? Here's what I would do, Miss Veronica, is get you a scrap piece of fabric, mix up some metallic paint with some fabric medium and paint it on there, and then let it just sit and dry. And see what it looks like. And if you like the look of it, then you know you can use it, right? Yeah, Mimsy says she believes you can use any acrylic paint with the medium. I think so too. I really think so too. Here's the thing. Someone asked me over on Facebook, could you use iridescent paints or paints with glitter in them? I think the iridescent paints would be gorgeous in this project. The paint with glitter in it, here's why I personally wouldn't use it. Because I might want to machine quilt this when we're done. And I think the glitter might pose a little bit of an issue machine quilting over top of it. And that's just me. But y'all, they make fabric with glitter on it. Have y'all ever bought fabric that's got glitter on it? I've gotten some, especially Christmas fabric. And I machine quilt that. So I don't know that it hurts anything. But me personally, I probably wouldn't use the fabric with the glitter in it. That's just me. Metallic paint, yes. Iridescent, pretty shiny paints, yes, I would use it. Most importantly, pick colors that you love and just be consistent using it all the way through. If you substitute one of these colors with it, just use that in all of the spaces. Debbie, yes, thank you, Miss Debbie, for the reminder. So yeah, you know what, y'all, this project is free. It might take 1 to 2 hours of your time each week, right? But it's really intended just to give us something to do, to unwind and to give yourself some quality time, not worrying about anything else that you have to do. It gives you that dedicated time each week. How fun would it be to get together with your friends in a Zoom, right? And you say, hey, Saturday night go get your puzzle pieces from Lisa. And Saturday we're going to do our own little paint party Zoom. And yes, or get together in person if you want. I don't know. But how fun would that be? So yes, copy the link for this video, share it with your friends over on Facebook. If you don't do Facebook, call up your friends and say, hey, there's this fun project. Check out Lisa Capen. The project is free. Y'all, to do this project, if you tend to be a crafty kind of person, I not only make quilts, but I do all kinds of stuff. More than likely, you have some crafting paint, some acrylic paint around. Y'all, I didn't have to go out and buy anything for this. I did, though. I wanted special colors, but you could use colors you already have. You don't have to use these colors. Many of you already have fabric medium. If not, this was $2.50 at Joann Fabrics, right? You could even use a coupon on it. They might even have it on sale this weekend. I don't know. I didn't check the sale ad. I don't know. And many of us have white fabric already in our stash, right? And if you do much applique, you might even already have freezer paper in your studio or your craft room. If not, you might already have it in your kitchen. So that covers what you need to make this quilt, right? We're not spending loads of money to make this quilt. Even if you had to buy white fabric, right? I would get a yard and use a coupon on it. You're looking at like $5, right? So yeah, I did not want to start a big project where we're spending butt tons of money. Y'all, quilting is not cheap. It's not. Even when you're thrifty like me and you use the coupons and you do the sales and you do all the stuff to save as much money, it's still not a cheap hobby to do. And here at Christmas, we have our normal bills and we have Christmas presents to get. We have get-togethers. We have social events. We're buying extra food, all the stuff. I just didn't want to do a project where we have to spend lots of money to do it. And let's just unwind together and spend a little bit of time together. Right? So here's the thing. Are there any colors that should be avoided in any spaces? I don't think so. I think you should just have fun and pick a color palette and just be consistent, right? If you want to substitute the colors, do what I did. Label your colors on top of your bottles so that you're using the same color throughout, right? I've numbered or lettered each one of my bottles so I don't get mixed up. And yeah, no, get creative with it and have fun. You most certainly don't have to use the colors that I've used. And I want you to share your pieces. Y'all, Creative Crew is a great place to do that. Here's the only thing that I would say about sharing your pictures is that I released the pieces on Thursday so that you can print them out and even pre-trace them so that Friday when we hang out, we're just painting, right, and chit-chatting. If you're one of those super expedient people who get your pieces on Thursday and you paint them on Thursday, if you could do me a favor and not share pictures of that until at least after the live on Friday, that would be awesome. We're still trying to save a little bit of mystery to the pieces till Friday, right? Even though you get the pieces a day early. Do you have friends who, y'all talk about a movie coming out and you might have to wait months to see the movie. And as soon as it comes out, they're able to go see it on the first day and you have to wait till the weekend to do it. But then they come and they tell you what the movie is all about before you can go see it. Yeah, that kind of sucks the fun out of it. So if you are one of those people who paint your pieces Thursday night, if you can just hold off sharing that until after the live on Friday, that would be awesome. Right? And I love everybody. But if you share your Friday pieces on Thursday or before the live, I'm going to delete your posts. I love you. I'm glad you're excited about the project. It's just hold on to your picture until after the live. Helen said, looks like it took you a long time getting all this ready. Thank you so much. You're so welcome. You're so welcome. Cindy said, no spoilers. Yes, that's the word, spoilers. That's why I was trying to figure out the right word for it. Yes. So, what do you think? Pretty simple, right? Again, I've been thinking of ways you could do this with fabric because I know some of you last week asked, can we not use paint? Can we do it with fabric? Here's the thing, y'all. If by chance you're on Patreon, we did some mosaic projects and workshops over on Patreon. You could treat this quilt the exact same way. I even have videos here on YouTube. We did a hummingbird. I've done an angel. I think I have a sea turtle. That might have been painted. Nick's the sea turtle. I think that was painted. But I did an angel, and I know we did a hummingbird fabric mosaic. I would go watch those videos if you don't want to use paint, because you could follow that same technique and make this quilt with fabric. If after watching this and after giving this a try, you're like, no, the paint's not my thing. If you want to do that with fabric, I would check out those videos. I wish the colors really popped on the camera like they do in person. I'm going to tell you this light aqua and that orange glows. And I don't know if you kind of see that or not with the black lines and the glowing fabric. I don't know if that gives you any ideas of what's going to come together or not, but it's gorgeous. And y'all, it's a lot of fun. So these are my dried ones. These are the finished. But yeah, see, very flexible. I think you could certainly hand quilt through this. When I heat set this has not been heat set yet. I do think that it softens up even a tad bit more. So I think you could certainly hand quilt through this without any issues whatsoever. Very, very flexible. Thank you, Elaine. Yeah, aren't they so pretty? Oh, Debbie makes a good point too. In the US, if you go to the library, they will let you print so many certain number of black and white copies if you sign up for a library card. She said most are 50 pages and some are 10 pages. And even if you have to pay, like the library is the cheapest place to print. I will tell you that. And it might be in black and white. Even so, that's okay. Because you can open the PDF to see the colors. You can open that up on your iPad, your computer to see the colors. Make yourself a little swatch with the colors you're using. And so it doesn't so much matter then if this part is in black and white, right? The numbers print green, but they don't have to. If you only have a black and white printer, you're fine. Cindy said 5 blocks each week. Yep, we're doing it for 5 weeks. So there's going to be a total of 25 of these pieces. The quilt, when we're finished, is going to measure 20 inches by 20 inches, right? So it's not big. It's going to be very maneuverable in your domestic sewing machine to put it together and to quilt it. It's not a project you're going to need to worry, how am I going to quilt this when we're done? It's going to be very good size to work with, right? One of the cool things, I'm going to tell you what, I had so much fun designing this. I've had so much fun painting the 25 pieces I've already done that I would like to do multiple series. Different picture, same concept. Many of them free, some of them paid. I'm not going to lie. Some of them will be paid. But y'all, my patterns are not expensive. And not all of them, the ones that you're going to pay to do, will not be mysteries. So you'll know what the picture is going to look like before you invest your time in it. But the mystery type ones will be free, and we'll reveal the picture as we go along. Oh, yeah. I might have missed your comment, Rhonda. I don't know if you asked if you can print the pieces right on the fabric. Here's why I wouldn't do that. And I'm all about printing on fabric, right? You know me. I love to print some stuff on fabric. But here's why I wouldn't do that. Because a lot of your colors that you're going to use to color in, especially these lighter colors, If you print that piece on fabric, you're going to see F, C, C, F. Your paint's not going to cover all of that. So there's that, right? And then all of the little red circles and the lines and the numbers, you really don't want that on your fabric pieces. Oh, she said no, it was someone else who asked. Okay. Yeah, so you know what? I'm really looking forward to spending some time with y'all each week. Let me pull up this. That is the process for which I'm painting these pieces. Now, next Friday when we meet, I'm going to have all of my 5 pieces traced. We're just going to jump right into painting. And we'll spend about an hour together just chilling out, right? I want you to have some dedicated time in the week just to do something for you so you can unwind. All of the stuff we have to do. If you're like me, you have projects where you have a deadline and you only have a couple weeks to get it done, right? This is a good hour in your week, or hour and a half, 2 hours if you're a slow painter, to where you can just let all of that stuff, let it go for a little bit. Just let it go. Ah, Sylvia, it's going to be 1:30 where you are. That's the only thing. I was talking to Harlan, I don't think it was yesterday. It was day before yesterday. I was like, having friends, even here in the States, like a lot of my friends are 3 hours behind me. And it's hard to keep that in mind, like when you want to do, get together with people, and you have to remember that not everybody, it's not 1:37 where everybody is, Lisa. That's so hard to keep in mind and to remember. All the different time zones. So I just want to thank y'all so much for hanging out with me. If you're watching on the replay and you have questions, you can jump down to the comment section. Y'all, there is the description box. If you want to know about my light pad, it's in there. If you want the link to my Etsy shop, it's in there. If you don't do Facebook, but you want to get in touch with me and share your pictures of your pieces, contact me on Etsy. You can send me a message right through there, and you can attach pictures in your message. So I don't know if you knew that or not. Yes, I can't wait to start seeing your pieces. I don't know if you see this right there. Paint party tonight at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. The link will be on Creative Crew. This is not a paid pattern, so I feel like we can talk about this project. I can talk about it on Creative Crew. Usually if I have a pattern that's a paid pattern, I don't talk about it on Creative Crew. But this one's a free one. So I'm going to share my puzzle pieces there from time to time. We can do paint parties about these puzzle pieces on Creative Crew, and should be a lot of fun. Yeah, the time differences. Maureen said, message her anyway. Do not message me late at night. I have to have my beauty sleeps. Yeah, if you know it's late at night, you might want to wait till the next day. Charlie says, I'm printing and saving. Cataract surgery isn't until January. Ooh, oh, you're going to see so much better. Yes, wait until then. Anitra said, I'm in the same time zone and I lose track of time. That's okay. That's okay. At some point I just do stop checking my phone. So there's that too. Any brand of paint. Yes. The Luminaire paints are beautiful. Let me just tell you, they're beautiful. I have some. Ooh, I have some. Here's the thing about the Luminaire paints and all those really gorgeous fabric paints, right? Is they're on the pricier side. By all means, if you have them and that's what you want to use, oh, it's going to be gorgeous. Especially if you're painting right on black fabric. Oh my gosh. One of the things I like to do in a lot of my videos is I like to do alternative ways that are more budget friendly. So acrylic paints mixed with fabric medium is very budget friendly. But I have some of the Luminaire fabrics. I don't have a lot. I bought, I think it's 8 or 9 in a package. I forget which package I got. They're little tiny bottles. But let me just tell you, they're gorgeous. Now, for this particular size project, I would probably use them all up. And I just didn't want to do it. And, but yes, this project is not brand specific. Use what you want to use, by all means. Sheila, you'll have to come back and catch the replay. Hello. Yeah, I like to keep most things like really as budget friendly as possible, especially approaching up into Christmas, you know, Christmas budgets. And, but yeah. I would love to see if you use the Luminaire paints, I would love to see that. Some of you are going to be using ink tints, paints, and pencils. Some of you are going to be using fabric markers and not touching paint at all. I want to see all of the ways. So share your pictures. I would love to see. Again, there's not a right way. There's not a wrong way. And let me just tell you, there's no judgment on Creative Crew. So it is a very safe place to share your projects. And if you get into doing something and you have a question, it's a great place to go to ask for help too. You're welcome, Miss Patty. Anitra has stilettos. Are you going to use those? Do they smear on fabric? That's what I'm wondering. Judy said, the Deco American Fabric Paint Medium. The link attached is for the Kona White fabric. Ooh, okay, Miss Judy, thank you for letting me know. I can go and change that. Let me write myself a little note because I will have to change that after the live. I will check the links and change them. I'll give those a check and change them out when we're done. Terry said, I painted one of my granddaughter's drawings on fabric. I bought rattan. Have you used it? I've used rattan. I've used rattan mostly, though, for when I'm printing images on fabric, especially when I was using my color laser printer. It really gave me a much better result that was more color fast and faded less. So I have used rattan. I've never used rattan on fabric that I've painted, mainly because I've always added a fabric medium and that sets the color. But yes, I like to treat my fabric after I've printed on it with rattan. Ah, Anitra used floating medium and it keeps it from smearing. Interesting. You're going to have to share some pictures with me. Carrie said, I just got some mica powder. Ooh. And thought they might be interesting. Yes. Oh, Terry, you meant printed. Yes. Yeah, the retain really helps to set those colors in the fabric. Yes. Gail says, I'm using ganache. And it works great on fabric. Yes. Yes. I don't know if, a while back ago, how long ago was that? I painted a little giraffe. It was like a coloring book page with some watercolor paints. That's a lot of fun. Here's the thing, y'all. With this project, it's an art quilt. So I really feel like we can get away with so much more doing this project than we would doing quilt blocks that are going to go into a quilt that eventually will be washed. Once you think about washing the project, that really limits the mediums and the techniques that we can use, right? Art quilts, we can get away with so much more, and it really frees up the things we can use in it, because chances are we're never going to wash this. So we don't have to worry about the colors fading so much, right? Or the embellishments and all that other stuff. We can just do so much more with an art quilt. Linda said, could you use Derwent Inktense pencils and paint on one puzzle piece if you couldn't find the exact color? Absolutely. Yes, you can use paint, markers, Inktense, all within the same quilt. I would just be consistent with it, right? So if for color A, you're going with this paint, and for color B, you have a fabric marker, all of your B pieces fabric marker, all of your A pieces to paint, and just be consistent with it. I don't think it would matter if you switch up types of medium you're using, right? Gypsy's mom, I do. I did a little angel mug rug printing on fabric with a color laser printer video. That was like 2 years ago. You'd really have to like scroll through to find it. Miss Maureen said, how about my Crayola watercolors? I think you could use them. I would mix a fabric medium instead of using water. Use a fabric medium instead, because I think it's going to soften up that paint a little differently. But yes. All right, y'all. I hope you've had a lot of fun. Congratulations to everybody who won the giveaway. Again, a huge thank you to Miss Valeria for sending me all of that stuff to give away to everybody. Thank you so much, Valeria. If you are one of the winners, do not post your address in the comments section. And if you missed it, my email address, you come back to the replay because I put it on the screen. You're going to send me an email. And in that email, you're going to let me know what your name is and your full mailing address. And I will get your prize sent out to you sometime next week, Monday, Tuesday, or as soon as you get in touch with me. And congratulations, everybody. Until I see you next week, join me tonight. It's Friday. We're going to live it up. Paint party. I hope you all have a fantastic week. Check back next Thursday. That's when the puzzle pieces come out. If you paint them early, don't post them early. I love you so much. And yeah, if I don't see you before then, I'll see you next Friday, where we are just painting. Just painting and chatting while I paint. Right? Have a fantastic weekend, everybody. Bye.